Leopold.
She didn't tell me.
Right?
Yeah.
You're already there, so. You don't have to sit by me either, you can. You're all gonna school. I think
No, next month is what I'm gonna miss. If that's what you're talking about.
But the
Three, what are you talking about?
Quite sure. There seems to be extra. Unless we have a.
Unless I'm
a
missing
government
something.
An
an
extra,
possibility.
Kathy, I told her to make 7, just,
Okay.
I didn't know if anyone else was
We're good.
free. Yes, we're good.
No, I think it's good.
Oh, I need to record. Yeah, don't forget to record.
Who else knows how to do it? Does Harry?
No one's ever done it.
That's why it's.
No one's here to set up.
Really?
Oh,
Man. We
So I don't have
That other day,
Yeah.
whenever we were gonna do the interviews, so I saw everything, I'm like, I'm just gonna like connect. You know, I was like, Hannah will do it for me, and then I'm like, no, I should do it for me. I'm like, no, so I connected everything, it was trial and error.
Yes.
Did you go see it? They had
No,
a-
I've seen it too many times.
Well, I really like Mahal.
Do you? I have never seen it. I see also. Yeah.
Recently ranked as number 8
Anybody can make.
movies of all time ever.
By whom?
Some
Okay.
crappy group that wanted clicks.
Hi, Justine.
Oh, and, Dune, the original Dune, was Mark Rothko. Yeah.
Hi, Justine.
No.
Okay.
The.
We're probably over time.
Yeah. It's like old school. Dude.
Justine, you have any opinions about the movies we're discussing?
Opinion about what?
David Lynch movies.
No.
Fair enough.
Just leave it there. We're being recorded at this point, Harry.
We are, and we're live
I want
streaming.
people to know if they join the governing council, have a fun time. Cookies, movie discussions. 5:31, Secretary, are you ready?
I am.
I'll convene the meeting. Would anybody like to volunteer to read the mission and vision?
I will.
Oh, thanks, Hannah.
Sure. At Aldo Leopold Charter School, the human and natural environments serve as text and lab for learning through direct experience, inquiry, and stewardship. The vision is that at Aldo Leopold Charter School, graduates will use the skills, perspectives, and information they gain at school to enhance their own lives and to advance social, economic, and environmental sustainability.
Thank you, Hannah.
Yeah.
Agenda review. Hopefully everybody who wants a copy of the agenda has got one. Are there any requested changes? Oh, I always forget the roll call we're supposed to do because people might be watching or listening without seeing. Jim McDash, you here?
Yes.
Lauren Dioria, you here?
Yes.
Alex Tager
Yes, I'm here.
and Harry Brown is here as well. We are joined by Director Hannah Wex, Office Manager for a few more months, Jackie Riley, Nathan Shea, and Deandra, and I'm forgetting. Medina, what else is it? Okay. Any changes to the agenda? None. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Well, Harry, I don't see the credit policy on there. It's just a discussion,
Can we do it as a policy committee since it's just
Sure.
discussion?
just a discussion. Let's talk about it. That sounds good.
It's the policy committee is officially recommending that.
Yes,
As of today.
thank you.
All right, thank you, Justine, for being with us, or at least virtually. It is
You're
time for
welcome.
the manager's report. Sorry, I assume there's no public comment. Right, I'm not seeing anybody online. Okay, go ahead, Justine.
We didn't approve the minutes.
Okay,
Justine, my bad. I skipped right over the minutes.
okay.
My apologies. Anybody got any comments on Jim's fine minutes.
One note for other members of the governing council, I often put in yellow, I highlight in yellow anything I'm not sure of after reviewing the tape and so forth. So those are places, if you're scanning them, those are places to look first to see, hey, I didn't get the title right, or it's not the operational budget. I do my best with that, but that's what that denotes.
And Jim, there was one that were you requesting some feedback about?
Yeah, I'm trying to call them.
I'm
really
also
quickly
trying to do that.
so I can see. That's one thing.
No, I need to slow down. Obviously, I'm going too fast.
Oh, well, one of them is I wasn't sure if I quoted the grant as coming from the Leslie Waldheim Foundation. I looked it up. I heard Waldenheim at the meeting and I typed that in. I just wanted to double check. It's not incredibly important, but it was one of the grantees from 2016 that we talked about at the meeting. And then the small finance committee makeup, that was, I put down Justine, Jackie, Harry, and Hannah. Was there anybody else who serves on? And then Alice, yeah, sorry about that. Let's see what else there is. I listened to the recording several times to see, I think it was Lauren's voice seconding the bylaws amendment. I know that's
Yeah,
trivia,
it
but
was.
I have to put that on the document we submit to the state.
Nailed it. Nailed
Okay. So those are the ones that I recall.
So Leslie Waldheim doesn't sound right to me. I knew there was something I would get to. Maybe you can just say a foundation, right? It's 2016, doesn't really matter.
Okay.
I remember it being a long name. They were out of Las Cruces. I don't know if you found that Leslie Waldheim was from Las Cruces. Yeah. I don't think it's
Okay.
doesn't really.
All right.
Thanks. I have a motion to approve the minutes. I will move that we approve the minutes. Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous passage. Now we're on to Justine. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, we can't hear it. There.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So the reports that we have this evening that we went over in our finance committee are run from July 1st through March 31st, starting with the revenue report. All RFRs that I have submitted up until March 15th have been reimbursed back to the school in the bank account. So this report, it doesn't reflect all of those RFRs again because this report is run to March 31st, but you can see in the actual column the actual revenues that the school has received. Going on to the expenditure report, looking at the operational fund, looking at the available column, the operational is in a deficit of 24,000, but good news, we do have an increase bar to increase the operational fund due to the 40-day student count, around 150,000. So that'll, once we budget that extra revenue, the operational will be back in the positive. We are actually getting the SCG is which funds what's called the operational fund revenue. We are getting that on the 10th of each month, so it's just a matter of budgeting those funds. So with that, I think the school is still, I mean, we're still on a tight budget, but we're not in a deficit, so nothing to be alarmed there. Going down towards the other funds, we are negative in a couple of funds. The big one is the USDA Food Services. We're just watching that closely, looking at what revenues that we're receiving versus what we're spending. So I'll do that final cleanup closer to June. And we'll probably have to move some of that expense to the operational fund or move some of the expense into the universal free meals. It just depends on the revenues that we've received. I think up until this date, we've received up until the month of January. So we still have February, March, April, May that we're waiting on revenues for.
And did we
And
end up,
some, go ahead.
did that already happen? Did we get August reimbursement?
Did we get which reimbursement?
The August one, remember we had to submit that one specially? Because
Not,
Wait, have we-
I'm not sure. I'll keep an eye on that one. I'm not sure if we've received August yet.
we should though.
Oh, yes. Mhm. There are some negative funds. They're very little, a couple $100. So anything that these funds don't cover will be covered by the operational fund. Any questions on revenues or expenditures? And then the next report is the PO encumbrance by fund. So these are the open purchase orders by fund. So if you have any questions on those, let me know. And then the bank account register activity report. This is just for the month of March, showing revenues and expenses. We had revenues of 326,000 and expenses of 323. So our revenues are exceeding our expenses is what we like to see. And then the bank reconciliation as of March, we had an ending balance of 833,000, outstanding checks of 12,000. So our true balance per the general ledger is 821,000, which does reconcile to the balance sheet. And we went through these reports in depth during our finance committee as well. So if anyone from the finance committee has any other input.
Alex, anything from finance committee? She's asking if you have any further input about our meeting. Anything we discussed. I mean, we had a few other discussions, but I don't think they need to be remembered necessarily. I had a question, Justine, that I'm not sure you gave. I think you did give an estimate. What are you currently estimating will be our cash carryover at June 30th?
Well, so the bar increase that we have is about 152,000. And with the operational negative right now, about 24,000. That puts us about 128 in the positive. I'm probably gonna estimate I would like it to be 100, so to spend 28,000 between now and June 30th. I know school, it's slowing down. It's almost the end of the year. We have a couple months. I'm not sure if there's any new expenses that
Yes, there will.
happen.
This is such a busy time of year for us. If I had to guess, I would guess 50.
50
Like
for this-
50,000 more in expenses.
That would be our remaining balance, that we would carry over 50,000.
Okay.
But I haven't gone through this PO report with the outstanding POs with
There's not
Dre.
much there.
And a lot of it is spent, but I mean, there's things like senior banquet, there's just things that are gonna have money spent on them, Aldo count, graduation. Graduation's mostly paid for, I think. So we'll see.
Yeah, and another thing I thought of too is if we have to move any of the food services expenses to operational. So yeah, I would say more like 50. I would hope for a little higher. But I think even with the school ending in a cash balance, that's still positive.
So, I don't know, several months ago, Hannah, you let the staff know there wouldn't be POs that were like not essential.
Yes, absolutely. And people have done a great
We
job.
used to do senior banquet for no cost, except senior class fund. Usually bore the cost of rental. Parents contributed towards the food.
I don't know. I'm not organizing it. You can ask Pete and Ally, but I know they're like looking for a venue.
But you
It's
get to
super
disapprove the.
I can disapprove it, sure.
You're not
yeah.
really gonna-
I'll look to see if we have a senior account.
I don't know.
We moved all of those to the 23,000 series at an auditor's request. It's one of those 23s.
Justine, off the top of your head, do you know if we have like a senior, a class of 2025 account?
I'm pretty sure, but I can run a report just to check.
And how much we look at? No, it's, yeah.
But
that's right.
is what we used to pay for Elks Lodge. I don't know what we're paying. now.
Right, I would say with food, I mean, yes, it's a potluck, and last year Maria cooked everything and like donated that. I don't know that they've found anyone to cook, we have to feed them. So there has to be a main dish, there has to be a venue. I don't know. Everything is booked because it's the night before Western's graduation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where they are with it. I'm just trying to think of all the things coming up. I'm just being overly not optimistic. I don't know what it.
Next year, we will be extremely happy if we have 100 instead of 50.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, that'll save
I-
some
it's-
program.
Absolutely, I agree.
Okay. Jim, did you want to say something?
Are there any more major school trips coming up? I think there's.
No,
I'm trying to
the
think about that.
Aldo count is the last
Yeah, that was. the
trip.
first.
There, yeah, and I'll talk about trips, but and that's a really, the trip, yeah, that is not an expensive
Well,
trip.
bus driver.
Thanks, Justine. Anybody have other questions for Justine?
No, thanks.
Well, I did run a report. There's actually not a current class fund. The last class that had funds was class of 2022 and 2021. There's like a prom committee fund or a yearbook committee, but not a class of 2025.
What fund numbers are those, Justine? The 2022 and 2021?
Fund is 23,052, so 23052. That's the fund number for the class of 2022, and then class of 2021 is fund 23051.
Well, so there's potentially $400
Nice.
if,
Okay.
if we want to dip into
Well, like
Those
class of 2022 has $81 and class of 2021 has $16.
those. Your report, what am I misreading about your report? It shows.
Okay, so my report is made up, the fund 23,000 is made up of all the student activity funds together. You guys have quite a few. I mean, I can name them all, but
On
you guys have quite a few activity funds.
On page 14, it's broken out. And 23052 says it has 330. And 23051 says it has 65.
It could be because they're encumbered, right, Justine? I believe that they're encumbered.
Well, how could they?
But how could they be encumbered?
Remember
if
how
there's
we were like
funds?
trying to clean up accounts
Oh, so we
and we might have pulled it because
spent some money.
yeah,
Mm.
on some of the trips because we need.
Yes, we have spent some money on things.
Okay.
Yeah, there were dead activity accounts that have been sitting there that we've been pulling from to fund things.
Yes.
So I said 23051 is 64, which that's,
There you
oh
go.
no, that is,
That's what I'm seeing. If it's encumbered, that should be shown there as a liability. And I'm not seeing it.
so yeah, that's your true cash as of March 31st. And I ran this report as of today, but there shouldn't be. Oh, there's an expense in there. That's
in-
why.
Okay, something happened in April.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes, you're welcome.
Justine, I have a quick question. I know we got our unit value today and it went up. Whatever that amount was, I have it, but.
It's
from-
not even 4%.
It's not even 4%. That was part of my question.
I mean, it's like borderline 4%. Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
interesting. All right. It went up $247 from last year's and 60 cents from last year's SEG. And I just wondered, yeah, where that sat in relation to what we need to pay. But we can talk about it later when you're done with spring budget. I'll send you and we'll meet before.
Yeah, now and that'll be part of like my budget presentation too, is kind of, the unit value and everything that we're expected to increase next year. So
Okay, thank you, Justine.
yes, you're welcome.
Do you want to talk about the bar?
Yes. So we have one bar. This is bar number 30. This is an increased bar to the operational fund in the amount of $152,981. The way that I kind of used this money was I looked at our expenditure report and any line items that were overspent, I increased that budget line item. So there's a lot of line items on this bar, and I've just increased the budget, totaling the 152,000, and this is due to the 40-day student count.
Questions, intrepid bar readers? Thanks, Justine. I'm not hearing any questions.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Appreciate it,
you.
Justin.
Yes, you're welcome.
Enjoy the rest of the workshop.
All right, thank you.
Bye, Justine.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bit of a surprise, 4%.
And you were counting on 8%.
That's what they said. It's been a lot of below the line funding that I'm not aware of. Okay, student council report.
She's
No,
not here.
staff report. Is it a team effort today? Candy. Oh, candy. No, okay.
Okay, so, I've got this from Jennifer Lepisco, who is our 8th grade social studies, ELA, and health teacher. She says the 8th graders wrote movingly about what they learned about themselves at the city of Rocks and how they're using their knowledge now. I'll get copies to you and you can decide how and if you want to share them at the GC meeting. I didn't get those, so sorry.
Oh, you have that.
Okay, that's fine. We skip over, yeah.
They are really, really sweet. They have deep collections and experiences.
So I guess, I don't know how you would share those out. Copies or. People want that?
I would love to see them eventually.
Okay.
I'd be fine with scanning and sending or copying. Whatever.
Combing through them to get a little testimonial nuggets, a little fundraiser, letter, and then you. Read it out.
Thanks, thank you. Put out it all, but.
That's why I mentioned.
In the 8th grade ELA, students are finishing the house on Mango Street and the boys who challenged Hitler. They will write a final essay, which will be their final for this class. In 8th grade social studies, they are choosing a culturally or historically significant person, event, or idea, and will research this topic, then present it to their class as their final in this class. We are preparing for the 8th grade backpacking trip that will be on Tuesday, so that's another trip.
Yeah, eighth grade.
May sixth, Wednesday, May seventh, we will scout the Sapio Trail the week before so the kids can see where they will be. My small all-girl 8th grade health class has been focusing on sleep and eating. Assume a discussion, not actually. We have also spent a lot of time recently discussing birth control, periods, and reproductive rights. And we have begun to design an embroidery piece. So that's Jennifer. From Serena Murillo, she says, I understand that we are in the final stages of choosing a new director. I would like to thank the search committee for all the time they have put into this important decision. I believe we should prioritize a candidate who believes in our mission and vision, even if they lack direct experience. Someone who demonstrates these values in their daily life will naturally lead in a way that aligns with our goals and inspires others. Experience can be gained, but shared beliefs and authenticity are harder to teach. Thank you, Serena. And then Joshua Rex, who is our 6th grade teacher, he teaches all everything. Yesterday, I was made aware of a budget plan to get rid of 6th grade as a possibility. I was told about this earlier in the day and then went to the middle school meeting where the governing council was, and it was laid on in great detail about this plan. I feel like shit. I don't know how to say that professionally. I felt thrown under the bus and that the school didn't value strong relationships, but is just looking at money. I have given everything this year to the school, joined 3 different committees. I'm the first in the middle school to show up in the morning. And I see the role of a 6th grade teacher as the onboarding cultural coordinator for the students we have. We have an amazing cohort of 6th graders that will transform the relationship of the middle school. My attention to the social and emotional wellness and development of the child, embodying restorative practices and modeling them for students and staff are what was missing from this position. I live and breathe conscious discipline and CLR strategies. I also feel like this decision comes from a deficit mindset and not from vision. And I'm afraid of the future for the school in the hiring process of our new director. I see a trend to look just to look at budget cuts and not get creative about how we fund this school. I have a lot more. Really pissed today. It took a lot to show up for my students. I wish I could have had a day of leave to deal with this news. That's Josh. Okay, so this is on behalf of, I would like now to share my point of view concerning the new school director before this council as a stakeholder at Alba Leopold Charter School. Stakeholders. We're all stakeholders in ALCS in some way. First, some personal background. I'm Nathan Shea. I've been an educator since 2004 to 2006, teaching PE and math as a private school called Down to Earth here in Silver. I started at Silver Consolidated Schools in 2017, teaching SPED in a self-contained D-level classroom. In November 2018, I was hired as a special education teacher at Aldo. I've been a member of the ALCS Risk Management Committee since 2019. I've been the head coach of NICA, a nonprofit organization promoting youth mountain biking since 2016, which has consisted mostly of ALCS students, but also other students from the Grant County community. I mention this mainly because last year our team had Ethan Hemphill as New Mexico varsity state champion. I believe these details make me a stakeholder as an experienced educator and athletic coach. I'm currently a special education teacher here, but I'm also a parent of a student currently attending ALCS. I believe this makes me a stakeholder as a parent of an Aldo student as well. Since I started in 2018, I've had 4 school directors and 4 special education directors. I've seen at least 5 staff members retire, and the amount of staff turnover from when I began my journey with ALCS seems tragic, given our need for qualified, experienced staff and administrators, especially considering that our programming requires personnel who know and can deal with long, sometimes arduous multi-day trips, as we're constantly responsible for our students' well-being. This school staff is away from their families and on duty 24/7 representing Aldo for several days out of our academic year. This year, I've encountered yet another special ed director, Dr. Michelle Wilcox, who has never set foot on our campus or personally met any of her SPED staff. She constantly schedules IEP meetings without consulting anyone else, even scheduling meetings when a student and their teachers are out backpacking or out of school on a school trip. Every meeting is done via Zoom, which may be convenient for some families, but can be a barrier for others with less access to technology. I and other staff members have had to attend multiple IEP meetings that have been scheduled outside of school hours, sometimes as late as 6:30 p.m. I personally have had more than one workday that begins at 8:15 and ended at 6:30 p.m. with lunch duty and a regular Monday staff meeting. That's more than a 10-hour day with no breaks for a non-union salaried worker. I could work for silver schools for the same pay and no multi-day trips, weekly staff meetings, or complicated AB block schedules. I would like another special ed director, or none at all, before I work with Dr. Michelle Wilcox again. While having distant personnel may look good on paper, the reality is that we have an administrator that makes decisions about Aldo students and staff on a daily basis without having any personal relationships with them. Recently, I attended a professional development training in which Dr. Marcia Tate said that developing positive relationships with students was one of the keystones of effective teaching and helping students realize their potential. So to use a buzzword, it's an evidence-based practice. We need consistent and experienced administrators, particularly our school director. I recognize that it is an extremely difficult job that needs our diligent support as stakeholders. When I hear discussions about costs in the school, it's often about money. I see a broader definition of cost. There's the cost of efficiency, safety, and overall quality of education when we have a high turnover rate. Why are people leaving? How about the cost of staff being overly stressed, working long hours, and covering extra duties because of personnel inexperience and/or shortage? Also, consider the cost of student and family confidence and the ability to effectively educate and care for their child because they've had a bad experience dealing with a new or interim administrator. Please don't get me wrong. I firmly believe that experiential education is a fantastic and effective tool to educate youth, particularly in a day and age where teachers are competing against social media and technology such as YouTube, smart devices, and mass player video games. I wouldn't want to teach or enroll my child at Aldo if I didn't believe that our school does this. As a professional teacher, I feel unease in the uncertainty facing the current state of public education, particularly on a national level. As a SPED teacher, I feel additional unease because that SPED funding is dependent on money from the Federal Department of Education, i.e. my job directly. I feel, as I expect most of my fellow staff members also feel, that we need an experienced and dedicated administrator who is also willing to learn and grow with ALCS. We need a leader that can mesh experiential education with our academic goals while considering the people involved in that experience. This school year, I've had the privilege of working with Pat Avalos, who came to us as a highly qualified special education teacher. Pat Avalos has had 32 years of experience total in education and 18 years as a public school administrator. I'd like to make it very clear here that he has not put me up to advocating for his bid for
Does he
direction.
even know you're doing this? No,
does.
I didn't figure that.
As I previously stated, I just met this guy only this year. Since meeting him, Mr. Avalos has impressed me with his willingness to dive into our Aldo culture, beginning with going on a 4-day school backpacking trip to developing and maintaining relationships with students while shoveling dirt during restoration projects. He has shown me his dedication to education and his openness to catch what we call the Aldo vibe. I'm speaking for myself as a stakeholder, being a staff member and a parent of a current student, and I endorse Pat Avalos as our new ALCS director. He is local, that understands the community of Southwest New Mexico, having networked as a public school teacher, athletic coach, and administrator. I see many qualities in Mr. Avalos that would benefit the school. At the top of the list, he has had almost an entire school year to know what the position of ALCS school director entails, and he still wants the job. If that doesn't say something about the man's character, I don't know what does.
Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's a little long-winded. I did edit it.
Super good. No worries.
Thank you guys.
Excuse me, careful,
Wind tunnel.
Alex, don't. Yeah, the wind tunnel. Rita loves to turn up those fans.
It's probably off. Is that what you want?
No. No, I
Not
don't think
really?
it is.
Oh, no.
I think it was.
You're right.
It's enough.
Yep, very good.
It'll be nice.
All right. Yeah, thank you very
Thanks,
much,
Nathan.
Nathan.
That's all I got.
Taken to heart. There are a couple of goal manager reports.
I am gonna be doing those for them.
Yep. See, you know, Anthony.
No, I don't either.
You're free to stay, you're free to go.
Okay.
Whatever you're.
What about cookies?
Those are
Lauren.
Want to take one to go?
Yeah.
As many as you want.
I think I have to summarize them, and I took some summary notes, and I will re-listen to this.
Why don't you just?
All right, see you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye, Nate.
Because I can't report everything.
That's right.
Yeah, it has to be a summary.
I
Okay,
was gonna say, just say that we read them, attach them to the minutes.
you have to summarize, I think.
Yeah, it's,
I did not think.
You
that.
don't?
No.
Oh,
You can definitely do that.
okay.
it's,
You don't have to do that. You don't even need to do more than say that Nathan Shane showed up, spoke on behalf of the staff. I mean, really, your minutes are incredibly detailed compared to the minimal requirement.
You can look, all the other public schools in New Mexico post their minutes too, and you can compare, but
so the goal of the minutes
are
is not to provide a check, well, it's not to provide a checkbox for NPD. I'm not trying to.
No, I think it's-
Secretary Horn, but
right.
the point is we can go back to
Back.
those and say what was said. And
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's important to quote Joshua being upset. I think a summary of that is important. We
Yeah,
heard
I
it
think
and it
that's
made an
important.
impression on. I don't know that we need to say, go into the details of Nathan mentioned his resume. He was trying to explain how he's a stakeholder. I wouldn't put that in the minutes, but I would say, I would put a couple of lines. If that's not what you want.
That's fine. I
It's
think
fine,
Alex
I'm
is
just
trying
saying-
to
Yeah, you don't need to do that.
save you
You can
time.
attach those, what you read to the minutes. Say, see. That's an option.
If you want to save time.
I have to think about that, but thank you for this.
It's a public hearing. It's public
Sure.
hearing. That what was there is public.
All right, the goals in the strategic plan for this month are, goal 1, which is improve teaching and learning and practices to support the growth of each student. This objective is to standardize the MLSS model, including restorative practices, and implement student assistant team structure and written intervention strategies. And the task to complete yearly self-assessment of MLSS model and restorative practices and plan and provide recommendations for 2025. So one of the many things that Allie Hennigan reports on is MLSS. And MLSS is something that means the multi-layered systems of support. And it is a tiered vision of how you support students through their needs. Within those tiers, there are 3. The first tier, tier 1, is like your regular kids who don't need extra support, but within tier 1, kids do need extra support. They might need tutoring. They might need someone to sit down with them. They might need, peer tutoring, whatever. There are interventions in every tier, but they get more and more. Tier 2 means this kid is really struggling. What are we doing? SOS is a tier 2 intervention. That means a kid has an F, so they do after school tutor. Tier 3 is basically special ed, but you don't have to be special ed to be in tier 3. You can be a tier 3 kid who needs huge interventions, who does not have an IEP. And so all of that, yes.
Sorry, just academic intervention or is it?
It is just academic. MLSS is really an academic intervention model. That's a good question. But extreme behaviors fall into disruptions of academics, but all right. So we have to do a plan and a report every year. And so the self-assessment is, how are we doing? What can we do better? What do we need to do? And then how that also dovetails with restorative practices and recommendations for 2025. And so Ali said, we can report that the Restorative Practices Committee is working on aligning our discipline matrix with restorative practices, but it's ongoing. The MLSS self-assessment is done like in October, so she's done with that. And she'll do it again next year, unless she went half-time and didn't do any of this reporting. That's one of my horrible options. But so right now within restorative practices, if a kid gets in trouble, Silver Schools has a discipline matrix. Like, okay, you vape in the bathroom, you're suspended 2 days, and it's very cut and dry. We have no discipline matrix because you need one specifically for restorative practices, and we haven't developed it. But they're working on it, and they have a really good template, and whoever is director next will really benefit from having more guidance.
Sorry, who's working on?
The Restorative Practices Committee. And that's Ali and Joshua and 2 students and Ray Kressler and me. That's it, maybe?
Not sure.
Cheryl is, no, she's supposed to be on it, but often isn't. I think she's officially on it. Lauren.
Do we have any policy around student behavior and parent behavior?
We have student behavior very clear in the handbook. And it goes through every possible student behavior and what's not tolerated, but it doesn't say like, if you do this, then this. Yeah, so I just use my judgment, right? And that's not consistent. There's no question. Having a matrix creates better consistency.
I would love to also see a family.
Me too. That policy was talking about that today.
Right.
Yeah, so that's something we can continue to work on, and I'll share that with Ali.
Yes.
Do you have a good one?
We have one.
Yeah, you want to share it with
Yeah.
us?
That would be helpful.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
sure.
Thank you. And then the second one is for basically Maya is the reporter on this one. It is to report on trip planning, improvements of procedures and communication, and identify future revisions or adjustments as needed. And Maya says, so the procedures, there have been trip planning procedures established this year, and there have always been procedures, but hers are really organized and more thorough than they ever were before. So first, she meets with the trip lead to confirm dates, makes reservations, submits requisitions, meets with trip leads to go over schedule, menu, and needed supplies, communicates with families through Parent Square 2 weeks prior, and a reminder 1 week before and a day before. Hard copy of the information letter, permission, and packing list is provided to students to take home. Request medical concern list from nurse and participants. Reserve schedule and confirm drivers for buses and suburban. Submit requisition for purchase orders. Check in with gear manager to pull gear and supplies and check that they are in working condition. Go grocery shopping and sort food for meals. And then she connects, I can share this with you digitally, a sample meal plan, shopping list, sample letters, create binder with pertinent schedule information, reservations, student health concerns, curriculum, inventory food and supplies, return to storage, collaborate with gear manager to inventory gear borrowed for students, check to see that it is still in working condition, wash if needed, and return to storage, and then debrief trip. Future revisions and adjustments, build student and trip leader engagement in the trip planning process while focusing on training and onboarding new staff to ensure long-term success and continuity. Also provide structured training for new staff, trip logistics, roles and expectations, develop strategies to help staff actively commit to and engage in the planning process in order to create more collaborative, efficient, and student-centered trip experiences. Jim, if you want that, for your
Nice.
notes.
Thank you.
And she shared a binder. This was the junior trip to sort of show what she's creating for every trip. And so within the junior trip, you have the itinerary. It's all day, every person, where they are. She has all the reservations and receipts, a place to save receipts, how much everything costs, the meal plan for every day, health concerns for every kid. And then each activity, like, okay, this is Colossal Cave, you need permissions, or you need, here's the information, Catalina State Park, the University of Arizona and the science, they went to a museum there on flora and fauna, and then the Reed Park Zoo. It includes maps of everything. There's student identifiable information there in the health. Don't look at that, look at everything else. It's very organized and very impressive. So that's what Maya's up to. Any questions that I may not be able to answer because I'm neither of them.
Everything I'm not sure if it's missing or not, but is some sort of report, and this might be somebody else's job of parental payments. How much are they paying?
Oh, right, yeah. That's, it is part of it. You know, first, but we can ask Maya. I can just ask her to get back to you on it because I don't want to describe her process or Kathy's or do it wrong.
Right, I mean, she has said that she's trying to do that.
Yeah.
But
But that's a good point, because that could contain the checklist. I used to produce a checklist that we could record when families have paid.
Yeah.
And that could easily contain that because
Sure.
the trip leaders often never had any idea,
Right.
right? That was all done at the front office.
Yes and no. Nobody's interested in deep school history, but it used to be that every teacher who led a trip had to put something like that together. And I have old notebooks like that. It's great that one person is doing that. And some people were better at that than others. Initially, I was writing down which status of payment. Like somebody turned it, you know, we have the bare bones, we have the full freight, et cetera. You know, I'd be checking that off. I'd be collecting the permission slips, and eventually the front office took that over, and that was a way to lift the load off of the trip organizer. It has the unintended or intended consequence of if a teacher thinks a trip is a good idea, you kind of say, that's a lot of extra work. And it just is a small discouragement when you have to think about all those things. So when we have a DEP and we have the front office handling that, it makes it much more attractive to individual staff.
I think that's just misunderstood. I don't think that the teacher should do it.
No, I actually think it's
It's be part of the
Edit to
checklist.
this after the fact.
I think that's quite appropriate. The point I was making is just that when you lift the load off of the trip sponsor, it's a big help.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna look at it.
Yeah, it's really great.
If you want to look at health plan.
That's the strategic plan report,
Okay.
unless there are other questions on it.
No additional question?
On the strategic plan, goal manager, task report.
Stellar job.
Okay, slide right into the director's report.
All right, so,
Good. That was good.
That's
So
really
good.
Very well organized.
that's nice.
Don't lose.
We have a huge problem with staff not bringing receipts. back.
Yes.
Stuff in their pocket.
Yeah, and then they lose them. So, what's going on, you know, for me is just the budget. I can say with facilities, there is no direct update other than the facilities. Jim got to see the, brain dead, sorry. You know, we went over to JB and got to tour it, and that was really awesome. And the facility master planners, Christopher and Paul Aguilar, also got in there because it was Silver's spring break. And so we got to get in the building, climb on the roof, look all around. And I also so I'm on the task force for the consolidation for Silver, and they had a meeting at some point since I've seen you last. And so I went to that, and it was really interesting. I learned a lot. And they're moving along in their process. Their timeline is to have a recommendation on consolidation of their elementary schools to their board in June. And yeah, it's moving right along. And then I don't know what's next. They are right now, they have a lot of decisions to make if they want to run 2 individual elementary schools or just grade band all the elementary kids and have certain grades at each site. So doing like a K2 or 3 at one site and then a 3-5 at another site. Transportation nightmare is my guess, but that's what they're talking about.
You did a great job for me in talking about some of the positives. I don't know
Yeah.
if anybody cares, but that's their decision.
That's their decision. It was a really interesting. I'd never thought about it much. And there's a lot of positives to keeping all the people who teach the same kids. It balances classes. The kids then are a cohort forever. They don't come into middle school having never met each other before. They've known each other. They've been together. So that's kind of interesting.
Knows other 6th grade?
So 6th grade went back to the elementaries and their plan is to send 6th grade back to La Plata and then grade band the elementaries or keep them neighborhood schools. But I believe 6th grade going back to, but 6th grade going back to La Plata has not been totally determined. So
when might the first 6th grade to La Plata year be? Because that is key for Leopold opening second section.
a second section.
That feels like a deciding factor.
Yeah, I think as soon as we have space, we should open a second section. 6th grade fills up the first, it fills up so quick. And not to take anything from Silver, but that second section of 6 would drop them even below 2,000 for the small school.
I keep thinking of that.
Well, if we're gonna take a second section and have more than 210 students.
Right, then we'd have to adjust
Charter
our,
amendment.
yeah.
The original idea was 30 per grade for 7 grades. We subsequently realized that was really hard to do because of the huge fluctuations year to year.
And aim
So
more
right now,
for,
we're basically at cap. We're very close with only one section of 6th grade.
How many are in this section? I know I saw.
now it's down to 16. We
So that's
started the
basically half.
year with 20, which was too much. Right now, we're full for next year at 18.
Okay.
Other
I have the impression that the Public Education Commission would view us favorably.
I
if
think
we
so
asked
too.
for
I do too.
230 instead of 210.
In asking people about it, they say it's no big deal to up your cap, that it is not a challenging thing to do.
I don't want to bog down the discussion too much, but way back when we were talking about how big the school would be per grade, were we to some degree guided by the size of our classrooms, or was it more so that we were guided by this, what we thought was the ideal classroom size, 15 kids, 15 kids?
The latter.
Okay, because we've been in some places, like right now, the
Right,
argument against
yeah.
opening up another section of 6th grade is like, where would we put it?
We can't, yeah. And running Fridays, yeah, we just need, if we grow with kids, we need to grow with staff.
My largest class here at this school was 22, and the space was an issue, but with mature seniors, it wasn't, it's a grading load, but it was
They
a
fit.
fun class.
Yeah.
It worked. I'm not recommending that we go to 44 per grade level, but I just don't want that to hold us back with the financing quandary, right, that we have right now. It's like, maybe
And
that's
it's,
where we could
there's
flex to
so
36
many,
per grade.
like ineffable balances that are so hard to get, because I did do a lot to recruit more students. And then all I have heard about that is unhappiness that we're too full. It's too hard to run trips. It's too hard to do this.
Yeah.
I have definitely increased discipline issues because of being packed and things like that. So I don't know what's with more space. I think it would make a huge difference that we could hold more kids just physically in that space better. As I already mentioned, the unit value was sent out today from PED. It did go up $247. And that isn't 4%. And we all know that inflation is insane. The cost of everything is insane. So they are telling us to give a 4% raise and not fully funding what we need to do.
Oh, Are they requiring?
Yes, yes.
Have you,
There's no,
I've been
no
asking-
clarity
you're
yet.
saying, yes, it's required, but we
We-
still don't
We
actually
don't
know
know.
that.
We don't know. We will see.
I think it's very likely to be required, but I don't
But we
see.
don't know. No, we haven't seen.
So, I mean, they're
Lots of things are still in motion.
elected officials in, sometimes they want to be able to say they're giving teachers a raise, and they don't actually require schools to do it. So that could happen.
That's a good point. Yeah. I think we'll have a lot more information on the budget after spring budget workshop is over.
Which, when is that?
It's right now.
Right, okay.
It ends this week. And so looking at our budget for next year, you know, Justine's projected budget, based on some unknowns, but a lot of things that we certainly know, gives us approximately a $500,000 deficit. And so in trying to address that, I have looked at policy changes, calendar changes, schedule changes, programmatic changes. And we know we need to make cuts, and I also know I need to generate any and all money that I can. Or we all do, right? The school needs to, it's not me. So I have a draft calendar in your packets, and it is not completely finalized. It's definitely a draft. Obviously, you've not voted on it, but this isn't the calendar I want you to vote on, but it's very close. And it'll be just about there.
190 days.
190 days,
Instruction.
well, yeah, it's actually, it's not 190 it is 190 instructional days. Yeah. It's not though, because you get to have 30 hours of professional development counted as instructional days. So there are 5 days of PD in there. We are also counted within that is student-led conferences, and I've had to cut those down to 1 day instead of 2, which we have always done, to maximize that. What I think I will
Funded two.
They only fund one
Only
now.
funded one?
They fund one. But I think we are given 4 remote days that I haven't accounted for. Where it gets tricky, right? If it ever snows again, if we do a snow day, and we would have to make it up because we're right at the edge. We don't have any extra days built in. But I could use a remote day for that. So I want to hold on to at least 2 remote days to use for snow days. Then I have 2 more that I can use, probably for student-led conferences. That's my guess, but I haven't talked to the middle school and high school, like, could you run it in one? Would you want to? Or is that where we use the remote days? My other thought is to use a remote day on Martin Luther King Day, which we finally had as a holiday this year for the first time ever. Got really positive feedback about that, but it would be taken away for next year. So there are just little nitpicky things, but the start and end dates, the general structure of it is all what it will be. And it does generate a lot of money. And I know I've mentioned that Garrett's taking the praxis, which will, because then he will be a certified PE teacher because he teaches 6th graders. That generates money units for elementary PE. It's not a huge amount, but about $30,000. So, we know that Fiona's retiring. We know, I think I've talked to everyone about a backpack plan where the week that one group is out backpacking, we do not run an alt week. We spend a huge amount of money on substitutes those 2 weeks. And so the high school is closed when you're not backpacking and flip-flop. And that's what we've been doing with City of Rocks and Camp Thunderbird. It's worked really well. Then all of the staff are available in the field and we're not spending any money on subs.
So classes aren't continuing for the 10th
No.
and 11th? Well,
10th and
9
11th
and
do
12,
not
right.
have class during that time.
okay.
And since they do a whole week intensive, they make up that lost time.
Have parents weighed in on that?
No, I haven't,
Yeah.
but it was Maya's suggestion, and she did it this year in the middle school, 0 complaints,
Really?
feedback, great. And the trips ran great. Last year was really challenging. They tried to take all the middle schoolers out and, discipline problems, injuries, it just too much. And so doing it that way was great.
But the kids who didn't, oh, I'm sorry,
Sorry.
the kids who didn't go on the
Don't have school.
trip just don't have, and the parents, I mean,
They were,
they were.
and that's middle school
Okay.
parents. Those are
Okay.
parents who actually might need babysitters,
Yeah.
might need supervision. I haven't, I don't know, but that is, I think it's a good idea.
I'm a parent, I'd be like, all right,
Yeah.
you'll be a senior next year.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That,
Thank
to
you.
me, that's different though than being a parent of a 6-week kid.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, middle and high school are different. This is high school and yeah, ninth graders, they are.
I've also heard quite a bit of feedback about how all week doesn't amount to much for the students
Oh.
academically.
That's
Not
all the
insulting
feedback I
anyone, a
get
waste
from
of time.
students and staff who are here. And it's a very expensive waste of time. And it is almost all subs in the building. And it's very confusing.
So that loss of class time doesn't affect our,
That is a discussion, it does, it would, this is the calendar that we are building, and there, you know, what do we, so the calendar rule says your day cannot go more than 7.5 hours. We have 24-hour days. We don't get
Right.
funded for that.
Sorry.
Um,
But we're
And it
back,
doesn't count as multiple instructional days.
I don't,
they used to.
yeah, but they don't.
We used to be able to count hours.
right,
And
that's what.
Eric and I
Yeah.
used to spend all sorts of time figuring out the hours.
Yeah.
We still have a minimum number of hours that are required,
Now,
Four.
it's the days.
but they won't let us count. more than
You
7.5
cannot count
per day.
anything past 7.5 hours as a school day.
Because the state educational system is built around non-experiential.
Right.
education
Right.
programs.
Sure is.
Right.
Square peg.
Yes, we are that. Um. Oh, all right. So then down to, I believe we have to cut the restorative coordinator position. That is staffed by an aide. That is just a ballpark. I haven't asked Jackie for an exact amount on what that would be.
Did you subtract your reading specialist is up there? Did you say it? Did you actually mention that?
I did.
And it just went right over my head
Uh,
because the net impact isn't 100,000, right? Because we're gonna pay Allison, I believe, Phillips, something to sub in.
That is true. That is, but we need some sort of leadership in the middle school because our reading specialist is also our assistant principal. And what that looks like, I have asked Allison, she's interested in doing the scheduling piece. She's not interested in doing the discipline and, yeah, parent contact thing. And just the coordination, you have to have a point person down there. So staffing, there are many question marks for me. I don't know what we're gonna do in middle school right this minute.
I've penciled that in as 80,000, I think. but it's
I'd be happy to change. Yeah, then. Okay, so Avery is going down to part-time. He doesn't want to teach math, and so he will be teaching Spanish, CO, and PE. And that savings is around 36,000. Harry asked me an hour or so ago to figure out what the savings will be on changing the credits, which we'll talk about in a little bit. It's a policy recommendation. I know I've mentioned it before, the high school requires 27 credits to graduate. The state only requires 24. And those 3 classes are taught by a human who costs money. And so going to the state minimum there, as well as with health, we teach 2 health classes. In high school, we'd go down to 1. Other disabilities, and that is cut EAs, the EE coordinator taking on classes as well as doing EE coordinator, teaching math classes is what I'm envisioning. Yes,
Possibly taking on the functions that Fiona
that's a thought.
takes that Allison doesn't want.
Yeah, that's a really
Also
good thought.
possibility.
I hadn't even thought about that. I'll make a note here.
Sorry, taking on the functions of
So
reading specialist or of
No.
like. or
Assistant.
like a
Parent
assistant,
communication,
okay.
discipline,
Yeah.
Okay.
And scheduling,
Schedule.
coordinating. Yeah.
not the reading specialist work.
No,
Okay.
no, Deandra's gonna go this summer and
Oh, yeah?
learn the whole
Is-
system, right?
So is that gonna be funded by a grant? That
They
that
told me
is-
it was paid for.
No, no, I didn't,
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry.
know.
I
Not the
wasn't-
training.
Not the training, I mean that position. Is that a federally funded program?
We used Title I money for Fiona's position, but we don't have to use Title I for that. So Title I will be reallocated to math positions is the plan right this minute.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah.
It wasn't specific to that.
No,
Okay.
and Title I for next year, I think is 69,000, 20,000 to each middle school and 9,000 to an aide. You know, wherever we put it, it is that much less that comes out of operational. And Ally's working on the Title I application right now, so that is, we have.
On the sped services.
It would. But it, and we can. I don't know, I mean, do you want to talk about that, Harry? How we use so the SPED funding is very complex. Each student generates a unit, but SPED students generate more. They generate more depending on what level they are. And then we also get, so those students generate extra money. So SPED generates extra money. We also get Idea B money, which can be used towards special ed. And so how we pay for each thing, there are many elements to special ed, and it comes out of a lot of different places. And I don't know what else to say about that.
Well, overall, what I would say is the extra money generated never in my 16 years covered the extra costs.
Right.
It-
There's
it
that.
just do- So don't think of it as you're making money on this program. Not,
You know,
even with Idea B.
Right.
It didn't.
Because of the extra, I mean, because of perhaps
Extra
smaller student teacher ratios.
extra staffing,
the
like say a kid
diagnosticians,
take.
the-
Yes.
Right, all of that.
Special services
Right,
and the
right,
extra
right.
staffing. Those are the reasons.
And there's all sorts of things that it generates, but it never covers everything. And so we just cobble it all together and put it where it makes the most sense. And it reduces, I guess, what we pay out of operational. Idea B does, and operational goes up because of those multiplying factors, but it doesn't cover it. The Americans with Disabilities Act and all of it, you know, Idea, when it passed, it was an unfunded mandate at the time and remains so this day.
And there's a formula that the feds have imposed, in which there's basically a one-way ratchet. You have to demonstrate you've spent as much this year on special ed
This is
as
so
you spent the
crazy.
prior year in order to get the supplemental Idea B. And
It's called
It
meeting
takes-
MOE.
an amazing amount of time to document this. It's incredible. And there was a year we did not make MOE and we lost tens of thousands of dollars as a result. The good thing about when that happens is then you reset things and you start over. So that's part of how the feds ensure that you're not making money on special ed. And it's built into the formula that you can't.
That you can't. Thank you.
Yeah.
Obviously cutting electives. One, we're cutting how many credits we need, and the credits all fall within the electives. We can't cut any core classes. Those are all required for graduation. So cutting elective teachers would be a place to cut. Cutting the EE coordinator is my least favorite idea. As I've made clear,
This is different than the second item because this would be cutting it entirely
cutting it
instead
entirely.
of just making
Yeah.
it part-time.
Right now, it's just to clarify, it's a full-time.
It is
position
a full-time
with- And
position.
Maya has no teaching responsibility,
well,
no classroom teaching.
No classroom
Right, that's all
teaching.
I
She goes out on every Friday.
Exactly.
She goes out and does lots of experiential ed with teachers and
Right.
co-teaches and is there as support, but no, she does not have a classroom. Another option is, no MLSS, the YCC internship coordinator, Ally, just does YCC and internship and doesn't do the other half of her job, which is not just MLSS, but she helps me a lot with federal programs, and just general state reporting. There are probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 yearly reports that we have to do. There's the DASH plan, which has the 90-day plan and the ed plan in it. DASH plan, the 90-day plan is due every 90 days. There's the attendance plan, the literacy plan, there's just a bunch of them, and Ally does almost all of that. So I don't know. No, I don't know who would do those then. But Ally's like, I'll go half-time. I'll just run YCC and internship and not do all this endless reporting.
What happens if nobody does that reporting? That's such an ignorant question, but.
No, it's not.
Totally appropriate.
It's so appropriate. And this year we did everything to the T because it was a renewal year. There is no PED jail. A lot of these reports are not tied to funding. Anything that's tied to funding, all the title programs, that's funding. You have to do that or you won't get the funding. That's incredibly important. Your literacy plan, they email you a lot. Hey, your literacy plan, we don't have your literacy plan. Would you just?
Oh, yeah,
with that?
no.
Yeah.
I love the phrase "you get dinged."
Right.
This
Yeah.
to me, those are the classic examples. You get dinged. Okay, is that a problem?
Right.
So hard to know.
Well,
I know if we did 2 years of getting dinged and then 3 years of not getting dinged for the next renewal, bet you we'd be fine.
do you feel from an educator standpoint that those reports are guiding the program in
No.
important ways?
I don't. Trying to think if there's,
Sure that you actually do them.
yes,
Just so that you're actually teaching, perhaps they're just so that state can look like they're having oversight.
that's what it is. It's providing jobs for people at PED.
And I
Then
wouldn't,
they can say,
I wouldn't
oh,
blame PED, to tell you the truth.
I-
Well, you know, as a former elected official, but this is elected officials. They want to go and say, we improve literacy throughout the state by requiring literacy plans.
right.
Boom, right?
Or if somebody comes and says, my kid can't read, you can say,
Here's a
we
point,
required a literacy plan.
right? That, I believe that's, and then the PED responds and says, okay, well, now we have to insist that you do literacy.
And so, almost all of those cuts are in high school. And I find it very, very difficult to find a way to cut anything in the middle school. It is run on a very tight, there are 5 teachers in the middle school. The one thing there are 2 things you could do. You could go to departments and have 4 teachers teaching the 4 cores. One teacher would teach all English, one teacher would teach all math, one teacher. That would take them from having around 35 kids, 32 kids, to having all the middle schoolers. So it would triple, or I don't, yeah. No, it would add 2/3. Right now they have 1 grade level, but they don't. They teach 2 classes. They were divided STEM and humanities. So 8th grade teaches, Garrett teaches math and science. Jennifer teaches English language arts and social studies. So they have 4 classes. They'd have 6, but they'd have way more kids. And the grading, the planning, all of those things. And then you would have 4 teachers in middle school, not 5. The other, of course, horrible idea is not to run 6th grade, which would, you'd still have 4 teachers and their regular loads, and Friday's lighter because there are less kids.
Is this becoming a freewheeling discussion of budget, or is this
So-
not the time?
I was just wondering the same thing.
Yeah,
And I propose that we let it continue that way. I was gonna have that discussion later.
Okay.
But
Okay.
why not do it now? We're all focused on it. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So non-committal.
I mean, I think we've all been thinking of,
Yeah, I think we
every-
should continue.
yeah,
okay.
So
Um,
what is this, what does the middle school staff think of that scheme?
I hate it. Oh, the like,
Well, but if it meant preserving the sixth
Right.
grade, is that the price they're willing to pay for a year? I'm not advocating anything. I'm just
Yeah.
asking.
no, I didn't get a lot of feedback other than they saw that that would be terrible. You know, just the workload increase is significant.
Yeah.
That's
To
what
me,
they saw.
to me, it's like a prioritization of terrible outcomes. It's like,
Right.
that's the worst one, and then.
Right.
And then what's the least worst outcome?
And that's pretty much how I've
Yeah, okay.
organized this.
Well, you've got 350,000 just in the ones that have money behind
Right.
them. And I think it's worthwhile adding some to this. That
Oh,
you tell
other,
me if you've already included them earlier in the game.
right.
And
This
so-
is where I need to sit down with Justine next
Okay.
week. There are too many moving parts and pieces for me
Okay,
to say.
then
where
I'm
we're
gonna,
at.
then I'm gonna rephrase it.
Okay,
I have spent a ton of time.
yes, good.
And I'm comfortable saying that these are in addition to those.
Yeah.
So if that's 350 and we have 500,000 to make up, and I agree with you about that.
Right.
Then we're really looking at 150 more.
And
Right.
well, here's where I don't agree that it's 5,000 because all of that is based on a salary schedule that is right now.
No, that's include, so by my calculations.
Okay,
The increase in SEG that we saw in the fiscal analysis of the budget.
Right.
I'm assuming that that was well done, and I'm also assuming that the governor hasn't changed anything dramatic. I haven't followed her line items. Assuming that the increase in wages that's required is already built into what I'm saying is why we need 500,000 more. That includes a 4% average wage increase.
okay. You
So
just said,
complying with the state,
yes,
complying with that, what I think will be required, but may not be required, that raise. I still believe we need to figure out 500,000 in cuts. Just want to preface it
yes,
with all
yes,
that.
I,
Okay,
that's.
I'm not
the
asking you
number I'm
now, I'm telling you that's,
Okay,
that's
that's
what
your
I.
number. I agree with you.
Minus 350.
And now that's roughly 350 of it. Now, the way I'm thinking about it, the Avery halftime, that's actually duplicate with reducing electives under possibilities. That in effect, the halftime going away of Avery
Sure, that
is
is that.
the
I
halftime
agree
saved
with
by
that.
cutting electives.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fair.
The new math curriculum. Roughly 9,000 is what I've got that we will save compared to the current year. It's more, but some of it was paid by career technical, so it's
And-
9,000 on that.
And nobody wants, the digital piece is super expensive. Nobody wants it. They all like the paper. So that's gonna save some
So we
money.
save roughly
Yeah.
10,000.
Yes,
The school psych, you have told me we will need her less often.
way less.
So
Yeah.
I've got 20,000 on my sheet.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't hear
Yeah,
you.
The school psych,
The diagnostician.
sorry, I have. You
Les,
did
she's had
mention-
to go, we paid her to do an EDT on every single IEP this year because none of them were done. So it has been exorbitant. That will never happen,
School business officials not.
right?
We are currently paying for an office manager and an offsite business official.
We will not
I-
have.
I figure we will save a net of 40,000.
Okay.
By moving that on site, paying benefits, paying higher salary.
Yeah.
Are you
That's
still
my
cutting into the
calculation.
150? I'm doing some
I
rough
sure am.
math. Okay, okay.
Doing the right thing. The contract for outdoor ed training for our staff members.
We're not doing it.
It's been amazingly successful, but it's probably something we can afford to cut.
Yes,
And I believe this year, at least in the budget, that was 16,000.
in the budget.
I think in the end, it was gonna be like 12,000.
Yes,
Is that right?
yes.
So 12,000. All right, we've already got a bunch of these. There's been a lot of talk about increasing collection of activities fees.
Mhm.
I guess I'm hopeful we might drum up 10,000 more.
Really?
I'd go 5, but our.
Okay.
Sounds like a
Cutting the grade level trips from 6 to 4. 5 to 10,000,
I haven't put any number on.
right? Right.
I have the spreadsheet of how much trips cost. If you want to look at it.
I don't need to, we don't, right, you know,
Okay.
if you want to give another round number, that's fine, but we are in such round numbers. That, you know, I don't necessarily need to do that. I am getting the impression from a colleague on the governing board that the foundation is getting more active, organizing fundraisers. That there might be something like maybe 10,000 more in support for field trips next year than there was this
I am unduly optimistic that there will be at least 10 raised. And our goal is way higher, but you know, goals are goals, but am
year. That sounds possible.
for the trip fund.
Yeah. Jim, what are you up to?
I'm right, I'm just under 100,000 at this point. What are you at? Because I started counting late. I started realizing what you were doing.
No, so
It's a good thing.
my problem is I'm going through a list that I'm having to cancel things out as I go
Okay.
and skip over stuff. So my total here isn't accurate, but that sounds reasonable. So another 50,000 gap. Well, we just talked about maybe having 50,000 carryover and maybe having 100,000.
Right.
If we had 100,000 carryover, I would say spending 50,000 to avoid worse cuts would be a prudent thing to do. So we're basically almost there.
I feel like we're close.
Yeah, you do have that there. Okay. Okay, that, I wanted to go over that.
Virtual spending.
Yes.
Because I'll throw that 16 in.
No, that's,
But that was a.
didn't we say that?
Yeah, it's not up there. It was previous, right?
Yeah.
This was,
Oh, that's right.
how are we, here's what we've already
We knew
done.
we were-
These is how we go deep, right?
Yeah, that one we knew we were.
Did we mention, what was the cost for substitutes? I know, I remember reading that.
So they're 140 a day.
No, I'm sorry, how much should we spend?
Current budget
This
has
year
36
we're
I know
over
it's going up.
$30,000.
Yeah, 36,000 like that.
So I hate to say some things like this because it's like, oh, easy for you to say you're retired, but I do remember times when Deb is going off in this trip. Jim, can you come in and cover my class? I gotta say, I hired really good, or, you know, called really good subs. Most of them ended up on the staff eventually, Jamie Thompson, Nathan,
Yeah.
and several people. And so I had good subs, but there were times when
Yeah, I
the
think
subs
that,
weren't doing, they were, you know, I like check in and somebody's sitting there, well, the kids are on their freaking phones. I think you get better subbing from teachers, even if they're exhausted.
so here's, this is this endless balance, right? And this is why I'm getting a cold, because when I first got here, I'm like, we have no subs. We need more subs. This is ridiculous. People need to be able to take a day off. They had been told you can't call a sub. Like, no, you can call a sub. That's illegal. We're going to get more subs. So I got a whole bunch of subs. People started using them. And now they're just like, I'm left and right. I'm sick, right? And so I don't know how to control those things. I can certainly have a conversation about, let's please be mindful of substitute budgets. And I think finding ways to use less subs and do trips to streamline however that process looks, so that we are not hiring babysitters for not impactful, meaningful time.
Again, if the whole staff is realizing, I think the staff realizes how dire things are. It's like, hell yeah, I'll sub for Pete when he's going. I mean, you know, it's my schedule.
No,
It's like, I'm gonna do that to keep the school going, but I don't want to ask that of other people, but I'm thinking of, again, the worst sacrifice, or the best sacrifices, which are all bad.
I think that talking about subs and sub usage is a good conversation to have.
30,000, 28,000 subs.
For trips, yeah.
For trips.
So it's gotta be higher.
It is higher.
It's 36.
It's like 36, exactly.
So people are being pretty reasonable with their subs if we spend most of it.
And to bolster the idea that we don't do all week.
Yeah.
14, almost
Yeah.
15,000
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
something. Like, I
So,
really-
I mean, we could put reduced subs up there.
Sure.
If we want, I'm not saying you have to, but I agree.
I have backpack
I was thinking
subs.
10,000, but maybe we're talking 20,000 in savings. From what you just, if we're limiting all the way, and that really was 15,000 according to Maya.
That's the number.
Okay.
High school backpack subs cost 14,700.
So I used to pay folks as subs who went out on the backpacking trips, not who stayed here for all week. That might be part of that.
Not, well, there was one person.
That's it?
Yeah,
Okay.
everyone else was volunteers.
Okay,
So that
So
is
that's
just
pretty
subs
close
here
then.
at this.
and I also want to say, we have the right to set a budget. We can constrain Hannah's successor and force them to cajole staff by saying, your substitute budget is 15,000, and that's that.
That's-
If you need more, you're gonna have to come back and ask for a budget adjustment. We could do that. Just want to remind you of our responsibility and our.
You know, one thing I really like about all week has been a problem since I've been here. The one thing I really like is that now staff, I think there's gonna be greater equity in how we.
There would be
support this.
equity. I also, if everyone's out in the field, you know, we have a couple staff who are like, I don't backpack, but they could be running a base camp there, that if a kid needs extracted, then they call me, I just go, or call the director, they go to the base camp, they're out there for, oh, we have a minor medical emergency, you know, Mark could be at the base camp. Like, it could be really run efficiently and well, and with a lot of support that would make me feel safe.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
gonna improve your safety.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Other
Can
questions?
I talk about this?
Who's there?
Serena, I've been here the whole time.
Oh, I didn't see
We
you.
didn't know that, Serena.
Oh,
Hi.
well, hi, I'm here. I've been cooking dinner.
Welcome.
I just want to, can I give input? I know it's not public input time, but from a teacher perspective who's had to use all her
Objection.
time off this year.
Love it.
Okay, thanks, Serena.
Okay. So I got COVID twice this year, which hit me really hard, which caused me to take about 4 weeks off. So I have no PTO. I'm like in the negative. I didn't want to get sick. Nobody wants to get sick, but going off of Jim's idea about covering classes in the high school, it's really hard to do that because we are teaching all 6 blocks. And so sometimes we will, maybe if it's a small class and it can, like a few students, we can absorb them, but we are teaching all 6 blocks. And so we can't go in and cover other people's classes. And then in regards to what Harry said about creating a budget for it, then I think you also need to look at how many days you're offering per year, because if you're offering a teacher on their contract 11 days and then you're not budgeting appropriately for it or saying that they can't use it, then it's not part of the package that they're getting when they're hired, and just being honest with that. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents in here. I thought you guys knew I was here. Been here the whole time.
Sorry,
You're
thanks,
not
Serena.
showing up on the Zoom. It's weird, but thank you. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
And just note that my suggestion about the budget wasn't to say staff can't take their PTO. It was to say there wasn't going to be a paid substitute to fill in. It's possible that if the scheduling doesn't work, that I'm wrong. But the point wasn't to deny staff from being able to take it. It was to encourage a different way of covering for those absences.
Maybe using EAs.
But if we cut EAs, we won't have them.
Well,
That's fair.
you didn't hear much cutting of VAs, I don't
It's
think.
on the
Or
list.
Well,
it's on the list.
It
And
was
it
not-
might be different if we go to a different schedule, right? Block schedule. It might work out differently, that we might have a prep hour. I don't know how that would look but currently there's no way teachers can cover other teachers' classes the way it's set up.
We don't have-
Yeah.
Where did the 11 days off come from?
It's in the
Handbook,
handbook.
I think that
the
was
employee
an
handbook.
original benefit way back in 2005. We offered 11 PTO days.
And every year it goes up. You
This.
get them
My
each year.
Mexico sick leave bought 64 hours a year.
Okay,
which is how many did it fill out. It's 8 days.
so we're over that.
But
But,
count 8 hours a day. I'm not sure.
right,
Very popular idea, I'm sure, but have to offer one.
To change benefits. I don't know that you would see a cost saving.
Well, if what Serena is saying is true, and we have a budget based on how many days we're all.
we don't have to,
Serena's
she's just saying,
saying
make sure
that's a
there's the money for
responsible
it.
thing to do.
Yeah.
There should in fact be, some reserve amount for paid time off, but that's not a law. And if we're going down to $0 carryover, we probably don't have it. Every year, we have to calculate our liabilities, how much PTO is out there, times what we pay if somebody retires and takes the PTO. And we have to record that as a liability, but we don't have to fund that liability. No, we don't have to, I don't know. Lauren's saying the law is 64 hours, I
For
didn't
sick
know that.
leave. for the state.
Sick leave, which is,
PTO. PTO is sick and personal, PTO is everything,
It's combined.
it's combined. Personal
So
time
giving
off, we
11
decided
days is
not
the
to have-
same as giving 8 days sick and 3 days personal, which is pretty standard in districts across.
There you go.
Yeah.
And we decided, we didn't want to deal with doctor's notes, we totally trust our staff. We don't care if it's sick leave or personal day, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
You
it's
don't need
extra
to.
paperwork, unless you really think you have a problem with staff abusing it. It's way better just to say, we trust you, and here you go.
So I'm gonna just leave my director's report and say that we are continuing to work on whatever we need to do to present a balanced budget at the next meeting. There is a budget meeting next week. And spring budget workshop will be over then, and I hope that with all of these things, we don't have to go very far down on that list, right?
Right.
It's just like, okay, we've done this, and we've done this, and we've done this, where are we at?
Right.
And that's the plan right now. Any other questions for me before I'm done?
thanks.
Yeah.
Concern that you went toward changing or evolving our governance structure.
No, but since the state is giving us only 1 day, I think we're gonna have to change how we do it, and there has been movement, so staff is really supportive of having like an open house type thing where parents can visit all of their students' teachers, right? And then having a focused, those kids who are struggling need to have one-on-ones. We had wanted to do that the second semester, but it just never got implemented. So everybody sees some value to it, but nobody like has taken the ball and like been like, okay, here's how we'll do it.
It seems like you get them in 1 day.
Oh, sure.
So that makes ways to make it happen.
Yeah, yeah, it may be.
As Parent, I was a parent. I think it's a total waste of time. As it is.
Sorry.
Looks like Deandra agrees with you.
And in fact, I boycotted and I got chastised.
So just to clarify, Alex, like the meeting for 20 to 30 minutes with an advisor and your daughter, you said that's a total waste of time.
The advisor has no idea how she's actually doing. She doesn't teach her anything.
Yeah, but
She's not.
I don't know who the advisor is, and that's immaterial, but I had occasions, well, I had advisees for 4 years, so there were years when I taught them and years when I didn't. But it's the job of the advisor to find out. To find out what's going on with the
Should
school.
not happen.
Okay,
But even if they do, like with Matt. And he loves tech as an advisor, and he's done a great job with that, and he's had him for certain years, right? But certain years he didn't have them, he'd be like, yeah, he's probably not doing real well in this class, but I can't really tell you the
And that's
specifics of
enormous.
why. like here are his grades, I can tell you he's missing things or not missing things, but doesn't have the insight of why he's not doing well in history or science. Yeah, well, science, he's a science teacher, but if he doesn't have that class, he doesn't really have that insight. Now, this year, because he's kind of had him a couple years on and off, now he can sit down and be like, okay, Matt, what's up? What's going on? And he can have that and he can draw that out of my kid. But freshman year, I would have loved to have actually been able to talk to his teachers because that was his first year here. And it was difficult to know who to talk to and what class. I could see the classes that he was struggling in, but really didn't have the availability of actually going in and have that conference. And I also
And you
came
work
from,
here.
yeah,
And you work here.
yeah, right.
Right,
And
so somebody coming in and not being familiar with this system,
Right.
I can see that.
yeah, and I
I
think,
think I'll suggest we don't need to discuss this more at
Yeah.
the governing council level. We've seen the input, and so is Hannah.
Okay.
Oh,
Some of us will remind the next person
Serena,
that this needs to be.
go
addressed.
ahead. I
Okay, well, if we're gonna move on, I don't see the hand raising feature, so I don't know. I don't know, you can't see me anyways. But I know you guys are gonna move on, but I just want to add on that it is student led, and so the teacher shouldn't be doing any talking anyways. I think we need to have a better template and a better way to do student led conferences, but it really should be the student explaining why they have low grades or what's going on in their classes. And it shouldn't matter who the advisor is because it should be in the hands of the student. That's all.
That's the
Really
intent.
sounds like
Thank you,
a job
Serena.
for staff. Thanks, Alex, appreciate it. Okay, on the committees. I've got a nominating committee on here because we are at 4 members. I'm not sure if we have a candidate still or not.
Oh,
Unfortunately, I don't know. I don't know one way or the other.
I sent you the application.
Yeah, no, totally. I think it's been,
Have we received any feedback from the candidate?
well, have I? Yes, I
Okay,
have.
because after
Feedback,
attending one
Still not
meeting.
decided.
Oh, so that was kind of putting the line in the water. That wasn't, okay.
Very much so.
Okay.
So, we have in the bylaws, we have 2 inconsistent things that we do. One of them is to have a nominating committee, come up with applicants. The other is just to take applicants as they come. Different parts of the bylaws. So my question here is, do we want a nominating committee so that probably 2 of the 4 of us spend extra time thinking about this, or should we realize as 4 people, we're pretty small anyway, and we can all spend extra time thinking about it? That's my question to you.
I randomly sent an email to somebody I thought of the other day.
thank you, Alex.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think right now it's. I guess that you need.
Well, and let me remind y'all that depending on how the candidate selection happens, we could be down to 3. To resign. So it's even more urgent than you might be thinking.
I can try to reach out to people in my school community that are interested. I can fish around there.
I would much appreciate all the reaching out we can do.
And I just personally think it would be ideal to reach out to those entities in town, stakeholder like the hospital, Forest Service, to get a mix of voices on the GC. That's mine.
What's the criteria? For
In-
someone to apply?
Can you fog a mirror?
Yeah. Wow. You can't be an employee of, you can't be an employee of this school and you can't be related to the director. By
There's some constraint on your role in the district as well, that I don't remember exactly how that was.
like, what is it? Cause I
I
worked in
will have-
Cobray and was on the board forever. No one ever
We're
mentioned.
not in your district.
Oh,
Well,
So you-
nobody's telling Richard, nobody. I'll find
Colleen,
somebody
I'm gonna text it. Her husband.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, right, care about education. Understand our mission and support it. I didn't mean to be totally.
No, that was
frog-minded.
good though. I like
So,
that.
Harry, I think Alex is right that for instance, you folks on the little finance committee have a lot on your plate. The building or the facilities committee is on hold for a while, so that's one less thing I have to do, but I'm wondering if it could be relatively efficient, and we met sometime around one of our meetings and talked for half an hour and just strictly did brainstorming where we talked about who do you know at the Forest Service, who do you know at the hospital,
So
what about alums, what about parents, what
Alumni,
about
great.
alumni staff? I mean, that's
Yeah.
what two of us are, but is it worth just having that conversation and not making a whole committee? Is that possible? We could do that.
if you have a quorum, it's a public meeting. And the kind of brainstorming you're talking about, I don't think belongs at a public meeting.
I agree. So, but
That's
we
the
can't
advantage
be,
of a committee.
I see.
If you have two people, that's not a quorum, they can. Does that make sense?
I'm willing to sit down with anybody. I mean, we're all busy right now.
Yeah.
That you work, but I'd be willing to sit down and think about it with somebody. What that means. I thought we had an ace in the hole.
I know, me too.
Well,
Yeah.
it may still be.
Thank you.
So my question is there value to meeting as a two-person committee compared to us here committing to spending that time racking our own brains and contacting people that come to our mind?
She's busy over there. You're such a go-getter.
The question was Jim was proposing a time when a couple people could get together and brainstorm. I actually feel like I brainstorm pretty well all by myself in a quiet room.
Okay.
Without Paquito.
Okay.
Everything's out the window if Paquito's visiting.
The only advantage I see here is if we were gathered, say, hey, what about, do you know, it would be that exchange. If, you know, maybe I know somebody that I've been impressed with, I don't know him well, but, oh yeah, that's my best friend, or yeah, I worked with him for 2 years back, and that's the advantage of having
Yeah.
more than one or two people.
Yes.
That's all.
Well, does anybody want to take Jim up on it? After the meeting, arrange a time to get together?
There's very little eye contact here.
I know, everybody was looking down, like, no.
It's okay. All right. We'll just keep thinking.
Maybe we do that, like right this very moment, you know, but
Gotcha.
perhaps in a month.
Reach out.
I would. Yeah.
Okay, on to finance committee. Jimmy mentioned the small finance committee a couple times. It's kaput. We officially did away with it at the last finance committee meeting.
Oh.
There's only a finance committee meeting. And personally, I'm happy about that. The whole idea of the small and the big came out of people not wanting to meet often, but I think we have members who want to meet often.
Okay.
So.
Good.
We include anybody else that's during the governing council?
Well, they'd be staff, so no,
I thought.
except for the one student who unfortunately hadn't been able to come. On the list of the big finance committee? Yeah. Well, you were at the last meeting. You saw them. By Zoom. You saw them by Zoom, the other members. Serena, for
Yeah,
example.
yeah. But there's a list is longer than that. List is way longer. But anyway,
Maddie Eagle, that's right. And I think she's been approached. Okay. Policy committee, you've already heard. That the policy committee, did we say we were gonna put it off for this section? No, I can't remember.
Yeah, we said we'd talk about it during
Yeah.
this section. I can just share. I didn't think to pull it up, but I can pull it up really quick. What it looks like, if you look in the parent teacher handbook, you can see
Right,
a
credit.
list of
Credit requirements.
graduation requirements for high school. And, it is just changing it from 27 to 24. And what that looks like. Is this. So the only thing that changes is at health, where it says 0.5 health. It used to say 2 units of health. Which were 0.5. And then down at the total elective credits, students had 5.5 possible electives that they needed to complete, you know, that they get to pick and choose electives, right? Not that we have that many options, but whatever. Now it's 2.5 to graduate. That doesn't mean they shouldn't take, you know, primitive skills or whatever they want to take, and we still. So certain electives are required, like PE and health and a career cluster, which is the language, like you want. And for college, you know, Cheryl guides them to take a language because you want more than 1 year of a language for most colleges. But then there's the open ones. So for graduation, there are less. And, you know, Pete brought up, or Ray did, the excellent point that we want seniors on campus more, and this doesn't encourage it. And it's true. And I don't know what to say about that. I mean, there are so many things that could be great to do with seniors, like as far as like an AP senior seminar. There are things that they could really use. I don't think next year is the year to implement that, but it is a goal that I hope everybody keeps in mind.
We've had that goal of an AP senior science.
And
course
senior science, yeah,
ever.
great. It
AP
would be great.
environmental science.
Yeah,
Why not?
no, I totally.
It's not the year to do it.
So there is that. And pairing bus, right? Or are we talking about that later? Travel
We
reimbursement.
are talking about later. Yeah, that's past policy committee.
Okay.
All right, under old business, the director's search. This is one I thought should have a framework for presenting things, and I don't really, but the way we stand right now. Will you be willing to summarize?
Do you want me-
the
yeah.
Schedule that's 16th to 21st.
Well, I can actually tell you what's been happening, so everybody
Thank you.
knows, yeah. So on March 28th was one of our first meetings that we had
For the
I-
search.
for the search committee. Yeah, we had the search committee, me and Hannah. Obviously, we don't have a vote in it, so it's 8 members. We started off with 16 applications. We narrowed it down to 9, or that's what the members were able to review. They had a chance to review everything that came in that application packet, from resumes to references to their licensure, whatever came in that packet. So when we met on March 28th, we were able to narrow it down to 4 candidates. So at that time, we decided to have a preliminary interview for those 4 candidates. So we set that up on April the 2nd. I wrote to the members and we composed 5 questions to ask them. And pretty much it was just like just to kind of have like a little brief introduction of who we were talking about, what they brought to the table. And from that meeting, we were able to narrow it down to 3. So now that we just have down to 3, I think we're going to turn it over to the governing council so that they can decide on those 3 members. But you have also agreed to maybe meet on April the 16th at 3:30 with the members of the search committee. I know that they were under the impression that maybe we were going to go a little bit longer with the interviews and just recommend one. That was
Search committee.
the search committee, yeah. Yeah, I thought we were just gonna do one recommendation, but I think at this point, and it's really hard to coordinate everybody's schedule because everybody's just everywhere. So I think it is better for the governing council just to do those interviews because you can meet with them in the daytime, and I think it'd be better for the candidates to actually do it in the daytime. But so whoever is in the search committee if they want to speak to the governing council. We're going to meet on April 16th, and everybody's aware of that. And I did send out that email stating that we did have quite a few of the members that do want to meet with you.
Yeah, that's at 3:30.
3:30, yes.
Wednesdays.
We have an early release that day,
Yeah.
so we'll be done by.
Right.
Is that good for the governing council members? And do you have any questions about that meeting?
Well, Lauren can't be at that.
Right, that's true.
And we need to address that
Yes.
because I've heard a
Oh, good
lot of
point.
staff, discomfort. They're like, what? The GC's, interviewing the candidates and
Right.
Lauren has a
Just make
relationship with
clear.
one of the candidates.
That's right.
And it wasn't something like, because the search committee wasn't governing council, we were just talking to all the candidates. And now that the governing council has taken it over, I think it needs to be addressed right away.
And I do want,
be at any of the interviews?
no.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No.
So, and let me, and along to that, I want to point out that I did share everything, all the applicants' information, all the reference. And when I sent it out, I didn't send it out as a governing council group. I sent it out just to Jim, Alex, and Harry, because I do understand the conflict of interest between one of the candidates. So,
Jackie and Harry heard from me already today in the wake of that email. I totally understand why every decision was made. I still feel an obligation to the members of the search committee to make sure they are comfortable with the way things are being transitioned. I think the meeting is a great idea. I think it's probably the best solution, but they had one understanding and now there's another. And I have a great deal of sensitivity about the way the governing council is perceived by
Yeah,
staff. And I
agreed.
don't want there to be any taint whatsoever. I mean, we're trying, we're not trying, we are listening very, very hard.
Right.
And I wouldn't be opposed to other members of the GC being present at the meeting. The problem is we slated an April 21st meeting for the next
Right,
review of
yes.
candidates. And the meeting date's kind of been changed to accommodate the governing council, and it's not everybody who's on the search committee can make it to that meeting. I mean, I feel like these are problems we should address. I know I'm kind of being a thorn in the side only because
I don't
have
think
this-
they're being, I think it needs to be addressed.
The search committee had one understanding. It's changed, and I just want to make sure everybody's heard who's on that committee, because we simply responded to the interviews. We didn't really rank in any official way. We didn't wrangle and say, well, what about this? What about this? It was, and we thought we were going to be naming one candidate. Was that your understanding, Deandra, that the search committee was going to name one candidate? It wasn't that we were picking the candidate. We were just nominating a single candidate. And that has a lot of force and power inherent.
and one of the things
I think Deandra's gonna
Yeah.
say something.
Yeah.
Jim asked her a question, let's let her answer.
How freely can I state my opinion on the process?
On the process. Okay. Yeah, not on kids.
Okay. It was very stressful. Unduly so. I think things were not shared that should have been shared. I think there's some things that look quite shady that I don't appreciate. That to me makes me question some integrity of certain candidates. I think a lot of ugly came out in the scoring of candidates and the opinions that were stated. Some of them I think were kind of jabby, kind of rude. And I didn't like that at all. And I think part of the reason that Jackie has sent that email to kind of have it go to governing council is because I know for myself, I went to Jackie and I said, what happens if I quit? Because where this is going is not pretty. It's not, it's a lot of pressure because I've sat on hiring committees, but I literally was going home wanting to vomit from these meetings because of the pressure. And it just wasn't pretty. And I really don't want to be a part of the ugly that came out. And it was just very strange and very uncomfortable. And there are people on the search committee that are not gonna voice that and aren't gonna voice those concerns. And this was just my feeling of it. Not everybody felt the same way. I know we all went in, we all know certain candidates in certain ways, right? And I think everybody went in there for the most part with a particular agenda. And I personally tried to be as fair as I possibly could and tried to have this being as equitable as it could be. And I don't think everybody on that committee did.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Let me cut you off for a moment and hang on just a second. I have no clue what you're talking about. Just want you to know that. And that's appropriate because this is a public meeting and you shouldn't be talking in detail. I suggest that you contact us individually if you have feedback you think is important for us to do, because it's very strong opinions, and I literally do not have any idea what those opinions are. Okay, Alex, do you want to say something?
Come on at 2:30 on this.
I cannot, I'm in a sped,
Okay.
Also,
Okay.
that will be a public meeting. There's gonna be a quorum of the governing council there. That will be a public meeting. You're gonna have to provide notice to the public that we are meeting.
How is that?
Maybe I misunderstand the idea. Do you want it to be a closed session because we're discussing specific candidates? Yeah.
People are gonna have opinions.
Right. Then I take back what I just said.
Yeah.
It will not be a public meeting. I just hadn't thought that extra step. I bet.
But we still need to post it.
So, yes, but we
Yeah.
can post it as a closed meeting.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
You're not the only one who can't be there the 16th, as I understand it.
Correct, that it's two people
Okay. And
that would like to meet with you, and
so I guess I'm gonna ask you as one of those two people, are you okay if you just communicate with us individually, or would you like to meet with us at some other time if we can make that happen?
I don't mind meeting whenever, I just can't make it up.
I'm sorry, excuse me, Jackie, wasn't there a contingency made for those two folks on Zoom?
that was what we were gonna discuss right now to see,
Okay.
because I know she's available on Monday. She's available on that Monday, but then she's gonna be gone Tuesday, Wednesday, and
Well,
Thursday.
we're leaving Monday probably 3:30-ish. And I can't do Zoom because the people that I'm traveling with.
Yeah,
Right.
but DeAndre, like, so what I think Harry is saying, but not directly, like, you could call each of them
Yeah.
and talk to
Right.
them
That's what I'm saying.
individually,
Mhm.
anytime you want.
Bingo.
About this, anytime. But like, you can have
Call
like,
anytime, we're here.
yeah, and
That's
or
exactly what I'm trying to say.
or we can set up a whole nother time that we post a quorum.
Yeah.
Everybody obviously wants to address your concerns. I'm just trying to make it clear. Yeah, you can call it.
I don't have any contact info, but I can find this probably.
Okay.
No, just emails are on the website, not
Yeah,
not
well,
personal
emails.
phone numbers.
I guess in light of, well, what Deandra said underlines a very personal concern. I'm the only person who serves on both of those bodies.
Right.
And I don't want there to be a perception. I didn't come to the search committee with an agenda. I did have one agenda to get the best damn candidate could. And I'm hoping that's what everybody's agenda was. I didn't really know the candidates deeply before I went in there. And I've been on search committees before, and it's hard.
It's
It's just because you're saying things about people based on this half hour you spent with
Yeah.
trying to predict the future, and I don't like it, and I don't know what the other choice is.
Right.
So I just say, oh, this comes with the territory, and that's why confidentiality should absolutely protect whatever goes on. You know?
100%.
That, I mean, you just have to guard that, but that's one of the reasons I would like to open up. I want to be really careful about how we involve the search committee, because I don't want that extra heft. Now we're down to 3 votes. It's Jim and Alex and Harry making this selection. And that's part of my job on the governing council, but it's like, oh, well, Jim gets to sit in the search committee. And
That's
you
kind of
know that I
odd to
didn't
me, too,
volunteer, so I could
honestly.
get that.
Right.
Oh,
It's odd
But
that.
It is
Virtual.
odd that Jim is wearing two hats because he's in the search committee and having a vote in that way and then voting again.
But we definitely needed a GC member
Oh, yeah.
on the search committee. I can't.
But maybe
say
not
how-
voting,
Oh, no.
like how you were there.
No, just
Jackie
as an
was there.
advisor.
That to me is kind of,
I had never
and-
thought of.
I find that kind of. I know you're very honest, Jim, and I don't have a problem
Well,
with that.
you know what, I
It's
wanna
just
cut
kind
this
of
off.
odd.
That's
You know
done.
what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
we got half an hour left. That all's been done.
Yeah.
I guess the next time we have to do a search, we can reevaluate whether that's appropriate. I just think we need to get moving. So,
Can you all give DeAndre your phone?
yeah. Dean Medina at
Yes.
ALCS.
Yes.
Okay.
whichever.
So if it's
So
okay
April
with you,
16,
I-
3:30.
yeah, and I will give the other person as well your information so that they can contact you.
It strikes me now as more important than ever, based on what we've just been hearing, that the governing council conduct these final interviews with the three candidates. I think I would have been extremely uncomfortable just having one name. And I really appreciate the folks who brought that up as a concern, so thanks to them. Okay, are we scheduling interviews with the candidates at this point?
Once you meet with them, then I figured that
Once we meet with the search committee?
once you meet with the search committee, then I will meet with you, and I figured we could do interviews the week of the 21st.
Do you think it would be too late at that point to schedule interviews if it's?
I can reach out to them and tell them that, we will be contacting them. If,
What's the
do
advantage of waiting? Why not go ahead?
you want me to go ahead and schedule it?
Jim, does that make sense to you? To go ahead and reach out to the three candidates? So we can get them scheduled.
That's utterly consistent with the.
Yes,
search
and that's,
committee's-
what we were gonna do as well. So, April 21st,
April 21st works.
you tell me, would you like to, give me a time frame of how much you want to spend with each candidate? And do you want to do it during the day? And then also
How much time do you want to spend with each candidate?
Just to clarify, we're doing one candidate per day or three candidates in one day, or, okay, we don't.
We don't know yet. That's why I think we need to
Well, because-
schedule them now and not wait.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do it when they're available.
do you want to do a candidate per day? Or, I know then the last,
I'm willing to do.
Yeah, I'm willing to do either.
okay,
The more
We're
flexibility, the
trying for
better.
the week of the 21st, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm willing either.
Because we also want them to have some kind of interaction with the students, right? Is that,
Yeah, you and I can talk about. So.
okay,
What's up, Jim?
Oh, I'll do what I have to do. I've made certain promises to Jack for helping out substantially with the tour of the Gila.
But
Just
this,
because, I
you
freed
would
up
have
the
been doing
20
this anyway, right? Oh, except it would have been,
Well, I just said, I'm not doing anything on the 21st, and I'm
Okay.
good on the 22nd. If those are my favorite
21st and
days, but
22nd. Is everybody okay with the 21st and 22nd? Are you, Alex?
Yeah, I have to be somewhere at 6.
21st or 22nd?
Oh,
on which date?
the 23rd. but-
Oh, on the
No,
23rd.
we're talking the 21st or 22nd
Okay.
Or both.
That's fine.
Those
Both days are fine.
are great for me.
Okay. And what about interview questions? One of the things that I had asked the search committee members is for them to possibly send me questions that we would want to do at the final interview. Would you like for me to compose those questions for you, or
Yeah,
do
but
you
can
want to?
Send them to us and we can add.
Okay, they're there. I
They're-
shared the file, everything with you.
I actually
yeah.
clicked on the link, but then I didn't go any further.
Okay, yeah, everything is there. Everything is there. The way we scored the candidates, everything is there.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I couldn't. We'll talk about it again.
Oh,
Okay.
because it's internal. Paul argued.
Oh, I shared it with you. You asked for access
Yeah,
and I gave it to you.
with the LDOCs.
Mhm.
Okay.
No, and then you wanted another one, right? You
Yeah,
asked, yeah, and I gave you access to that.
Anything else on the director search that we need to discuss? Concerned about our fellow
Yes.
member, do you want to go?
Thanks.
Thanks.
In that case, we'll pause the discussion since we're down to two people.
Oh, waiting.
Yeah. It's,
I
the
don't-
anticipation is killing me because I know it was hurting Jackie last week. She spoke up about it.
Well, I even joined in from Florida
Yes.
because I was like so excited.
Oh, shame.
Yeah.
And then I never.
Well, since this is discussion time, I will say that next meeting, I will do my darndest to attend, but it will be remotely. I'm going back to my old hometown for my dad's 85th birthday, so I won't be quite back to see him.
That's awesome.
So I'll do my best. I won't be on the train that day.
May 8th. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. In the worst case scenario, how will that mess up quorum if I can't get logged on with 4 members? I mean,
We'll have to postpone till we can.
Not necessarily. I think that it's written in our bylaws, it's a majority of the voting members, and if we have 2. I guess
Yes.
how recusal counts. Might have to ask. Someone who knows how recusal counts. This is a 2 out of 3.
try to arrange a really stable.
Yes.
Maybe. Are we June 12th? I'll be on the island of Moon, Denmark. I assume they have an internet connection.
Okay, that trumps Pittsburgh, West Virginia.
Serena said she felt like a creeper. She thought we could see her. I had no idea there was.
No,
I
I said, all of a sudden
had-
there was a voice.
Last night. It's okay.
You go to, let me tell you how I did it. You go to like the quietest spot. You watch everybody have fun and then you're like this.
I actually had plans to go to the North End Tavern with my best friend from high school that night, so we'll be rearranged.
Oh.
But remember,
I'm a big wine.
it's like a different time zone.
Pause the live stream?
Yeah.
Uh,
It's a nice.
I don't know. I guess not.
I don't think you should.
Okay, I'll leave it.
We're not adjourned, we're recessed.
Okay.
Did we make an announcement of that? We're,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
It was very informal announcement. I guess I had in the back of my mind, only Serena was listening.
I want to hurry up and do 8A.
Yeah, you'll be 2 hours ahead. So if we're meeting at 5:30, 7:30 for you, I wonder if we could put things that require a quorum early, or would you rather have them later? Would you prefer to join, for example, at 9 your time?
He's meeting at a tavern.
But he's 63. He just turned 63, so. Tavern might, he might leave the tavern by 8:30.
Oh,
So
that's true,
that-
that's true.
Happy birthday, Jen. When was your birthday?
I am the baby of the astrological calendar. I March 21st.
March 21st is my mother's birthday.
Is that right?
It is.
It's a great day. Everything else.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay, we are no longer recessed. Okay, we are at Governing Council training check-in. So after you all did the doodle poll, and I appreciate that, turned out Wayne wasn't available on the only day that all three of us were available. And Wayne feels that we don't actually need to do this. And I knew I'd get that response from Jim. Because he's been to enough of our meetings, he thinks it would count. I said, what if people actually want it? So in that case, I'm happy to do it. So he's still happy to do it. If we want to say what training we would like from Wayne and when, and we'll have to do another Google poll. Okay. And it'll have to be after tour of the Gila because Wayne's really tied up and Jim's very tied up and I'm tied up. Okay, question one. Who wants to do this with Wayne? We don't.
Are we picking what we want to be trained in?
Yes, you can pick what we want to be trained in.
It's not really a matter of do I want to, because as soon as the tour is over, I'm leaving the next morning. I'll be gone to West Virginia. And by the time I get back, you will be on your merry way to the Nordic.
I don't need to do it.
Okay, okay.
I've got the hours.
I am certainly
So
capable of
we
doing
would say
myself.
we all have the hours.
You have the hours. So he said,
Okay. If I have a question, I'll call him.
Okay, I'll do a little bit more online work.
and he also said he was happy to send you any one of his training subjects on, or all of them. Okay, in online format so you can study.
I think it's impossible to do it in other place. I'm happy to do that.
Okay. Item C, travel and per diem policy. I don't have the mental energy, I don't think at this point, but I understand there's considerable interest in getting this done. I'm really hopeful people had a chance to review policy I sent out. And I don't think I brought a hard copy for myself.
You send it out.
I have one in my
I have.
office. Do you need it?
Yeah,
I'm gonna look for what I sent, I think. Jackie, oh, that's right, you made some changes, right?
I
You
did,
suggested
yeah.
some editing.
Yeah, and I did. I mean, they were very, very minor, like, and I put them in red because had I not done that, you wouldn't have even noticed.
This was after Harry sent it out.
Yes, I sent it back to him with just minor little words that I
It
added.
didn't show up on our copy.
No, I'm gonna have to tell you, I think. You know what, oh, it does show, that's excellent. Are you all seeing what I sent you,
I've got it here.
Alex? Okay, so, one of the edits is the second word, apparently, it said a something, and now it says a travel request form.
Oh, yeah, you forgot
did
the
it say
word.
before?
It just said you had to request to travel.
Okay.
So I just added that, because a lot of times they think that means verbal.
Oh,
So I
Very
thought,
good.
let's pinpoint it down to make it say
Thank you.
form.
sure,
Oh,
this will be
travel
excellent.
request form.
So a
Yeah.
travel
Okay.
request form must be submitted for any
Yes.
school-related out-of-town trip.
Yes,
The travel request form is completed and submitted to the director for approval. Travel request forms must be submitted to the director at least 5 days before the date of departure. So Jackie has clarified that this is an actual written form. This is a very good form.
Yeah, but I told you. I was
Right?
writing this
no,
trip.
because
Exactly.
I've asked,
Yeah.
did you submit your request?
Yeah.
Well, I asked Hannah and she
Yeah.
said yes.
Yeah, right.
Bingo.
Yeah, so.
Okay,
5 days enough.
is 5 days enough here?
That's up to Jack.
Yeah, no, it's, yeah.
Well, it gets
We
submitted to
usually-
you. but-
Yeah, they
okay.
do, but I mean, is it burdensome for the business office to get things done? Is that enough time? To me, that's the
I
question.
mean, that's the minimum, so.
I used to do it like with them sitting there in the office. so.
Yeah,
All right, so under mileage, Jackie has suggested a change in the fourth or fifth paragraph, I can't tell for sure. Requests for registration fees must be made by a separate purchase order requisition, which I consider redundant. You didn't just call it a requisition?
I thought you had put something else in there. You had-
Oh,
you had-
maybe I did.
So just to clarify again, you said the same, we were saying the same
Purchase
thing.
order requisition,
Mhm.
okay? Everybody see where that was?
Yeah.
Up here, okay. Under per diem, in the first paragraph, there again is the travel request form.
Okay.
Employee must submit their choice as part of the travel request form. So this is one of the policy things, right? An employee can choose per diem, or actual. If they want actual, then they have to provide receipts, etc. And if they travel on per diem, they do not. But they're limited in what they get. Yeah,
If
Alex.
they travel on receipts, though, there's still a limit, right?
Yes, there's still a limit. The limit is set by state law. And if they can demonstrate that there's a need for exceeding the limit, and if their supervisor agrees, in that case, it's the school director, we have one supervisor here, then they can exceed the limit. But that's, should be an exceptional situation. Actual expense, so another edit, under actual expenses B, the employee submits itemized receipts, thank you.
Yeah.
Some people think credit card slips are receipts, and they are not. The employee submits itemized receipts for the actual meal and lodging expenses, parentheses, room folio.
Yeah,
Ooh, that's fancy.
that's fancy.
I don't know that.
Yeah, and sometimes when you go to the clerk, they won't know what you're talking about until you say room folio.
And when you say room folio, that's good.
They say, oh, okay, and they get it.
That's actually Shakespearean character.
Room folio,
Room folio.
like a portfolio.
That's Christian. Room folio. Those are the edits that Jackie proposed, all of which sound great to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So is this a time to discuss or
Yes.
should we put a motion on the floor first? I mean, I know this
Sure,
is not.
let's put a motion just to be.
Okay, I move that we accept the travel and reimbursement policy as amended.
I accept.
All right, moved by Jim, seconded by Alex. Discussion.
So I really like this. I think it's very clear. It's even clearer now. The one thing, and maybe you want to avoid this, I think of that rare occasion when somebody says, I just found out about this conference. It's an AEE conference, or Pete can't go. We've already paid some of the money. Could I go in his place? I'm just making up situations. Do we need one little line in there about at the discretion of the business manager?
We're all really flexible, I think.
I think that's such a good discretion.
Is implied.
Okay, well then let's not
Should be
touch
applied,
it.
and
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So just practically, let's say someone says what you say, they submit the travel request form 1 day early instead of 5 days prior, and it's approved. Who is gonna say, hey, you violated the policy? The auditor? Maybe? I don't think so.
okay,
I think one of the things that we were trying to avoid is submitting that approval after they come back.
Absolutely.
That was like that
Well,
was like the.
I think you're also trying to avoid having to decide when you're meeting with parents who are outraged on some other issue, and you can't possibly make an informed decision at that point. That's why 5 days is important.
okay,
But if it works out, that, I think it's important.
okay. I think it's covered. It's good.
Any other comments on this? You all okay with the mileage amount? That was a thought, would it be a point of discussion?
what is it?
A rate of, well, it's mileage will be paid at 1/2 the standard IRS mileage rate in effect at the time of travel. So you had mentioned correctly that state statute refers to the previous years. This is not doing that,
I saw that.
because I always thought that was a little silly. I thought that was made for big bureaucracies that can't handle changes in IRS rate, but anyway. So that's what it is, it's half, and currently that would mean 35 cents. Which again, I feel is adequate, especially since generally there are cars available. If that's not enough for somebody,
And we don't get them.
what do you, just curious?
I think, maybe, I don't know what the actual figure is, but it's, right now, it's 50%.
Some percentage. Anything else? Ready to vote? Would you like to be brought up to speed on what we've just been discussing, the travel and per diem policy?
No, I'm okay.
All right, thank you. Then, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? May we record you as abstaining? Sure. Okay, thank you. On to Approval of the 25-26 strategic plan. We don't even have Anthony here to take.
No, he texted me to say, I hope that the approval of the strategic plan went well. He's already talked about it. He sent it to
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
He knows it's on the agenda. That's all. He said, yeah, hopefully everything went well with adopting the new strategic plan this evening. I will zoom in for the next meeting.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve 25-26 strategic plan.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Surprisingly hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Aye.
Sorry, aye.
All those opposed? Should we record this? 201 abstaining, or did you say aye?
I said
Oh,
Aye, okay,
thanks.
I didn't hear
Thanks.
you. Thanks. Okay, on the new business, we have in our packets a very lovely picture.
In
Okay.
color,
In color, and it's not white.
which we've heard feedback, negative feedback about.
Is the negative feedback because it's red?
Yeah,
Or because it's not white?
Is that gonna
because it's
hurt
not
this
white,
drive
but it
through?
doesn't
Really?
matter.
Isn't it? I just, and I purposely asked, like, do schools have to buy white?
I think this is the truck you take when you're going to put out a fire.
Because that's what we do all day. We put out.
Put out
fires.
fires, that's right.
Okay, so this is coming to us. Out of courtesy, really, it's $40,000 purchase. I think it's really wise to come to us. I think our limit is actually 60,000, so it probably wasn't absolutely required, but. Jackie's asking us to approve the use of the capital outlay funding from Luis Terrazas, Representative Terrazas. Which was extended graciously by the sponsor. For this truck. And that had been syntactically correct.
So just in the service of due diligence, what does Kelly's Blue Book or Edmunds or whatever say about this if we run this model through as far as price goes? Just. I
don't know.
it sounds like in the ballpark to me, but is that something that we would do with the purchase of the vehicle is to say, hey, how's this? I mean, it's a really quick.
2024.
Yeah, it's a really, and I couldn't find the mileage. I was looking for that.
Yeah, it's brand new.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's brand new. Yeah. Yeah, and Chalmers is a member of the
Is it
price.
CES?
CES, yes. So one of the reasons that I wanted to act upon it quickly is because she did mention that the prices may go up, it might fluctuate because of all the new changes. So
Spoken very diplomatically.
this vehicle is gonna be,
Can you say auto tariffs?
Just briefly, what do we need to?
I will be happy to explain. So, we had the extra money for a vehicle and we had already talked about with the travel and per diem policy, like our Suburbans are not economical. When I go have to pick up a kid and extract them from backpacking, I have to drive this giant Suburban. They're not easy on the back roads. They're not economical. Having a smaller vehicle for running those errand kind of things with kids. It also has the little pickup in back. You can throw gear in there. And for trainings, instead of taking a giant Suburban, if two of you are going to a training, save on gas, save on environmental impact. That's what it would be needed. Bye, Lauren.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Is it significantly better than the Suburban?
Yeah, the Suburbans get like 13.
It's hard to say see how big it is.
Oh, yeah.
So it's.
You know the trucks that Western drives around, their little truck cars?
that's
It's
what
one
it
of
is.
those.
It's a Maverick.
Yeah, they're the
If you
same.
look at mine, mine's similar, just to have
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And I thought they were really small on the inside, but that's why I put the inside because it fits 5. So 4 will fit in there comfortably, 5 if you're smaller. You know, if you're doing, like, if she has to go pick up somebody or whoever.
So it can't be used on an actual school trip, but it can be used.
It could
for
be used
that
as a
purpose.
support vehicle
Or as a
sometimes,
support
but
vehicle,
on
right.
Fridays, we drive a Suburban as a support vehicle, right? And we don't need all that space. One kid has a hip condition, you have to drive a Suburban to get them down to the farm. Instead, you drive this.
And then if this is available, they can take it to conferences.
Yeah, no, staff, no problem. There's a rule when you're transporting students,
Has to be
it has to
Suburban.
be at least 6 seatbelts.
Oh,
Oh, okay. So you-
Now, I think in an emergency extraction, that doesn't matter.
That doesn't- But like kids who can't walk to the farm, we have plenty of those kids.
It's questionable. You might want to ask.
No, I didn't know that. I've
Oh, yeah.
never heard that.
Yep, has to have at least 6 seatbelts.
Hmm.
Which is why we always used to buy the bench seat.
Right.
Back when you could buy those.
Right.
Maybe-
Well, we'll look into it. I think it would still be useful could still use it for extractions. You could still use
Yeah.
it for professional development, but I didn't know.
Ask
that about
Pat.
students.
I bet you
Oh,
Pat knows.
bet Pat knows.
Bet you Pat's got it down.
Confident are we in this price, because we're not getting,
That's what I'm looking up right now.
Yeah. it's looking like 35.
Yeah, oh, we added everything we could to use up the money because it's capital out.
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh, that's another point I didn't. think of.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
the black appearance package.
Yeah.
Power
Certain white-
moonroof.
We want to get vitamin D.
I'll train you mine, you know.
We've looked at everything.
We have a capital outlay for a vehicle. I feel like the
Yeah.
expeditions we bought, we should have upgraded quite a bit. There's a lot of things that they don't have. This is all it can be spent on is vehicles.
Okay.
So yes. Right. Okay.
And
It is in fact 35. Base price is 35.
Yeah.
It says it on here. So what you found is appropriate.
And what's the mileage? I saw a huge range on this. Did they give us a mileage? 25?
Oh,
Thank you. I was looking at the wrong sheet.
And then we got a spray bed liner as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. Thanks for the service, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I know.
And it has like a 2,000 pound towing capacity. Does it
It
have,
can tell you.
I
Yeah.
can tow, yes.
and is it set up to do so? I mean, does it have a hitch?
I want to say no, it
Can
doesn't.
we add it?
We probably could.
We probably could.
We could probably get the towing package if we needed to.
I'm just thinking of more versatility occasionally. Backpacks along.
Yeah,
little
yeah.
trailers.
Yeah, I can see that on. All right, listening for a motion.
I move that we approve the capital outlay of $40,000 for the purchase of a 2024 Ford Maverick.
You want to purchase technically.
Let's,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
sorry.
let's approve, I'd like to amend that, just say we approve the purchase of.
Okay, we have a motion amended. And seconded perhaps by the amender.
Sure.
All
There's
those,
3 of us.
all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
I said, aye.
I keep drowning everybody else out. Bar, budget adjustment request.
Make a motion that we approve.
Oh, thank you, Alex.
Second.
Yes, awesome.
It's got no number.
Any discussion about bar 30?
Several, right, so,
Yes, we have. All those in favor of bar 30,
aye.
say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay, calendar, which could be a discussion.
How about I send it to you all digitally and I will alert you when I make changes to the draft that I've shared. And I'm open to comments and questions, but since it's such a draft, it's very, very close to final, but not final. And yeah, so.
My only question is, are we able to align with, WNMU and or Silver?
It is very aligned to Silver's. I have Silver's calendar. Silver has a different, they're doing 2 weeks for spring break. We're only doing 1. It does magically align with Western spring break. That was happenstance. We generally don't. Other than that, I don't know what to tell you. We have less, we're going back to 3 days for Thanksgiving. Silver has the whole week. Trying to think of anything else. I don't know that our fall breaks line up or not. We don't have fall break. We don't have, yeah, we do.
Oh, W.
She meant Western.
Oh, right. I thought you asked Silver and Western.
I feel like your answer is very thorough.
Okay.
That was it.
So it used to be, that we made every effort to align with Western, but you just suggested that silver was the default. Is that-
try to align to silver. It's impossible to align to Western because a college schedule is not the same as a public school schedule. They start almost a month later and almost a month earlier, and so their semester runs very differently than ours. It would be ideal for our dual credit kids, but I find it
Exactly.
really challenging.
Huh.
And so I align to silver.
Well, I'm glad the spring breaks line up. Anyway. In winter break, how does that line?
It's the same.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, those are the.
Well,
two-
it's the
that's-
same with silver and with Western, theirs is longer, so ours always falls
Perfect.
inside it.
Okay, well, those are the big issues.
And my understanding is you can't claw back those, what did you call them, remote days or whatever, that's just like. You budget them in, you hope you don't go over, but if you have no snow days, you don't
get to.
get them.
Well, you could just, I don't know.
That's for somebody else to worry about.
Okay, so we're all ready to have that on the agenda next meeting.
Okay.
Approval.
And I will, any updates I'll share with you digitally, so that you've seen the most recent version before you vote on it next.
Jim, do you have any governing council input for us?
Just that,
Oh,
I want to remind everybody about May 18th.
Yeah.
Fundraiser.
It's on my
It's on
calendar.
everybody's calendar.
You're still deciding the time, but are you thinking
4:30
evening,
to 8:30.
4:30 to 8:30, okay?
I know.
on the coast.
So I need to be careful about what I might be getting myself into because I am gonna be away. I heard you mention in passing something about a fun run. I think that might have been Anthony, Dr. Smith's idea. If,
I think you're right.
I just heard.
We're
it, I
not
thought,
planning a fun,
Okay,
right?
I-
And if we did, you'd be the first to know.
I do.
I know you do, so.
There's nothing funner.
No, we're not, we can take that up, but that's not.
Governing council input, from me. Mainly, I think I want to apologize for, anticipating this issue with the search committee. The governing council